Thank you so much for staying with us. My guest, Professor Usman Yusuf, former Executive Secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme, joins me now to take a look at developments in Niger Republic and how it's impacting on neighboring Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Amechi, for having me.
So I said at the beginning, a window of opportunity for dialogue has been opened with Islamic clerics moving over. So where government efforts are not yielding fruits, private efforts appear to be indeed paving the way for a peaceful resolution.
Yeah, this window has always been there. It's just that this government did not explore this window before going the military way. This window has always been there.
I thought they dispatched the former military head of state and Abdulsalami Abubakar and Sultan of Sokoto to go have talks with the military rulers, but they couldn't even meet them.
Right, and there is a reason. I mean, never start any negotiation with threats.
Okay, the threat had been passed before they sent the delegation.
So, ECOWAS brought their last trump card on the table, put threat. If you don't do this, we'll do this. If you don't do this, we'll do. Then you say, let's talk. No, that's exactly what has made the junta entrenched in their position. And that's exactly what is giving them legitimacy in Niger, where they come into attack us, then people are rallying around them. Even those that did not like them, they are rallying around. So this clearly shows inexperience of our president as the chairman of ECOWAS. You do not bring violence up front. There are lots of avenues, and we've seen that.
The ECOWAS, what do you think they should have done? You said it that the negotiations should have been first to invite the junta or send a delegation.
Exactly what exactly what elders in the north, because we know the people in Niger. They are our people. They are Zabarmas. They are Hausas. They are Kanuris. They are Fulanis. They are 53% of Niger Hausa. We've shared not only borders, 7 states in the north share borders with them. 5 out of the 7 northwestern states share borders with them, and Borno and Yobe too. We share heritages of language. We intermarried. Our religion is the same, and all of a sudden, boom, we're going to fight now. Niger has been, of all African nations, Niger has been the most steadfast ally of Nigeria from the time immemorial. Division of that border is just artificial.
In what ways have they aligned with Nigeria?
I will tell you, during the Civil War, when Gabon and Cote d'Ivoire, this same Cote d'Ivoire that is pushing to go into Niger, they were against Nigeria. France, this same France we are fighting for in Niger, they were against Nigeria. And there was a treaty, 60 years old, between Nigeria and Niger, that Niger should not dam River Niger upstream. In exchange, Nigeria will supply Niger with electricity.
And it has been cut off.
And it's wrong.
As part of the sanctions.
Yes, and it's wrong. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria cut a treaty unilaterally without consulting National Assembly. He didn't have the rights, he didn't have the powers to do that. He did that on the behest of ECOWAS. I have said it again and again, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are not the president of ECOWAS. You are answerable to
He's the chairman of the summit of heads of state.
Because he was the president.
He's expected to provide leadership.
Leadership to Nigeria first. First, his primary responsibility, his primary constituency is Nigeria and Nigerians. Whatever is good for Nigeria should be what he takes to the table.
So sometimes I think that perhaps what the president, Tinubu, and ECOWAS is doing is some form of game of brinksmanship. Push them to the limits, let the war exercise start, let the troop deployment start. You may not intentionally mean it. You know what I'm talking about.
But the question is, here you are.
So as to force a response.
No, it's wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is what we call bluster. And they've called his bluff. You don't start a negotiation as a responsible leader of a responsible nation like Nigeria that way. If you don't do this, I will do this. And then they're saying, go ahead and do what you want to say you want to do. That is not responsible. Before you go even to ECOWAS, here you are a president who is barely 9 weeks old. He's just recently just moved into the villa. He's not even unpacked his bags. He wants to go to war. He doesn't have his team. The only people he has are his advisors and the service chiefs. The service chiefs have not even gotten their feet wet. They haven't even found out what's wrong in their places, how to make assessment. You're taking the nation to war. It's wrong.
He has said it is ECOWAS that is taking the action.
Unbelievable.
And not Nigeria, nor himself.
Look, I don't want to hear anything about this ECOWAS. For goodness sake, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is sitting on that table as ECOWAS chairman because he's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Without that, he won't be there. So ECOWAS, be responsible as the leader and say, I am going there wherever you go. ECOWAS, United Nations, AU, you are there to protect the interests of Nigeria. This is exactly what I said.
Should we have, as good neighbors spanning several decades, try to resolve this matter, engage them bilaterally rather than multilaterally, use of ECOWAS? Should the president have said, let me speak to the copies directly, Niger Republic bilateral relations framework? Should that have been an option?
Right, good. I mean, what this is showing exactly is inexperience, and understandable. 9 weeks old, inexperience of this government on the international scene. What he's been doing with the economy, with this Niger crisis, clearly shows he shoots before asking questions. There has been a precedent, a history of Niger going through a coup, even killing a president, Nigeria coming in. In 2000, during President Obasanjo's reign, in 1999, President Mainasara was shot at the airport. There was a coup by Major Wanka. There was a coup in Niger. President Obasanjo was just 1 year old. Of course, ECOWAS said, did all the meeting. What happened? Was the President Obasanjo, because his experience and he had his cabinet, the Minister of Foreign Affairs then was Sule Lamido. They went through the back door and continued negotiations. Absolutely. Continued negotiations. What happened was that eventually Wanka was moved out of power and there was a transition. And Mohammed Tanja became the president. But there was no threat is we're going to come gun-ho with tanks, and you don't do that.
What the recall what he said while assuming office as ECOWAS president, as if he knew there were some military purge in West African nations in the pipeline. He stated clearly that the era of coup is over and it must not be tolerated. Is this president not enforcing the policy framework he has set for himself as ECOWAS chairman?
Yeah, but who delegated him to do that? Nigerians did not vote for him to be the policeman of Africa, to be the apostle of democracy.
But Nigeria is a member, a leading member of ECOWAS?
We are leading members of the United Nations. This is exactly the template of the United States of America. The United States of America has been going around the world saying the policemen of the world, they want to bring democracy. See where Libya is today. See where Iraq is. See where Afghanistan is.
But we intervene militarily in Liberia
Good.
and Syria.
The difference is,
and it fetched dividends.
Right. The difference is not in our back door. War in your back door is different from war outside. Sierra Leone and Liberia, they're way out. And we went to bring peace, not to cause war against a neighbor that has not attacked us. People say, oh, we intervene in Gambia, we intervene in Liberia. Gambia, Liberia, Sierra Leone, they are not across the border from Katsina, where I come from, or Daura, where President Muhammad Buhari comes from, or Sokoto, where the Sultan comes from, or Maiduguri, where the Sheikh of Borno comes from.
What's the level of affinity? Because even the president, former president, has said, I have cousins over there. What's the level of affinity?
Of course, we are the same people. We are the same people. Hausas, Kanuris, Zabarmawas, and we have intermarried over the years. And here you are, and I say something that has been overlooked. President Muhammadu Buhari, of course, has lineages like I do across the border. Here you are, APC former president, handed over power to you, and the first thing you want to pay him with is bring war in his backyard. Incinerate his backyard so that he cannot even stay and live. You don't have that respect for him?
Now,
And another thing, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is occupying the villa today because of the overwhelming votes he gets from the north. We have said no. Our lawmakers have said no. Our traditional rulers have said no. Our clerics have said no. We the people have said no. You haven't talked to Nigerians. You've been talking to ECOWAS.
Yes. You know, he is the president of Nigeria. He's not the president of northern Nigeria. He may want to consider overriding national interests.
Right. So what I'm saying is that he hasn't spoken to Nigerians. All we have seen of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his advisors are him at the conferences with ECOWAS meeting. He has not addressed the nation. Neither has his national security advisor. Neither has his any service chiefs. We don't have a minister, minister to come and talk to us. So you're not talking to people. You just wrote a letter to the Senate. Say, hi guys, give me permission to go to war. The senators say, no, you cannot do that. And he cannot go to war without the authorization of. So, to be honest, this is the way we are seeing it in the north. He's taking us for granted. This is huge contempt of the people. People are against it. People that voted you in, you're not talking to them. You're taking the nation to war. Nobody in your administration is talking to people. Look at the clerics that went and visited him, including Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi, over 90 years old, on a wheelchair. He was wheeled to the villa to see him. Ordinarily, it is Bola Ahmed Tinubu or his vice president that should go and see, that should go and consult with elders like that. He came and talked to you. We don't want war, because there's no reason for that war. There are ways to solve these problems. So, Mr. President, I'm telling you what your advisors are not telling you.
Okay, I spoke of national interest, wider national interest.
Good.
The president received security reports.
Right.
Now, you know of the Trans-Sahara gas pipeline that will traverse through Nigeria, through Niger Republic, Algeria to supply gas to Europe. The fear and insinuation is that if the military coupists succeed and get hold of power, and align with Russia, which is strategically against that gas pipeline, it may not augur well for Nigeria. That there's a need to allow a democratically elected government that has expressed commitment to the actualization of gas pipeline to be in place. Could it not be some of the national interest consideration the president is bringing in?
Let me tell you, the Americans and France, they clearly have defined. They don't go into the world without defining their national interest. Nigeria, we've not defined our national interest to go into Niger unprovoked, destroy relationship that has been there for thousands of years. All we are doing is that we are doing the bidding. Oh, not we. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be doing the bidding of NATO and France and the United States. Yeah, you're talking of that gas pipeline. That gas pipeline, why is it important now to America and Europe? Why now? It is important because of the Ukrainian war. Russia has blocked gas supply to Europe, and this they find an alternative to that.
That will guarantee us extra revenue.
Right. No, it's not the revenue. The other day I heard that, the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, called Mr. President. We talked to him about the Niger issue. All of a sudden, the State Department, everybody in America, they are concerned about democracy in Niger. And I asked myself, has President Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris ever called either President Bola Ahmed Tinubu or President Muhammadu Buhari about the massacres going around in the north? They have declared their self-interest, and they are not shy about that.
They have joined issues with Nigeria. They have provided support intelligence, and they have provided the sale of the Tucano
Right.
jets.
Don't talk to me about Tucano. Tucano is another big issue that we shouldn't be talking about.
I'm just trying to
I'm telling you that,
how the U.S. appeared
oh, they
to
provided
be helping.
intelligence. Well, in Agadez, United States has over 1,100 soldiers there.
That's the Niger Republic.
Yes, one of the largest drone base. They're looking over you. Maybe they're seeing what we're doing now. They're looking all over the Sahel. Oh, have they ever provided intelligence to Nigeria about Boko Haram, where those Chibok girls are, about these bandits and their movement? They knew, because at one time they came with their helicopter and devastated a band of terrorists and picked their hostage and left. Oh, now all of a sudden they're providing us intelligence. Where have they been all this time? I am saying it again and again and again. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be very, very careful and not take us into this Niger. All it is going to be a proxy war between Russia and NATO. And it's going to be bad news for us. We, Nigeria, we cannot go to Niger and forcefully. Well, the people that conducted that coup against Bazoum are his brigade of guards. So we're going to kill all the brigade of guards, put Bazoum, and be there forever. Is that what we want to do?
Okay, now that we have a window as the Islamic clerics, for the first time, forcing that commitment from the military coupists to begin negotiations. What steps do we take in taking advantage of it? ECOWAS, the president, Bola Tinubu,
right.
and the chairman.
ECOWAS, the first thing I said, take that threat of violence off the table. Number one, that window has always been there. All he needed was to call people in the north. Please go through this channel. He should have done all these consultations before even convening ECOWAS meeting. And at the ECOWAS meeting, he will present Nigeria's position. Nigeria is the biggest power in ECOWAS, and it will dictate the narrative. When you go and say, when the Americans are urging you, go and fight, and you place that on the table, everybody else will accept. Well, now Ghanaians are saying, no way, they're not coming with us.
Have they said that officially?
No, well, it's only
insinuations?
It's only Côte d'Ivoire that is committing troops, and we don't have the troops, for goodness sake. Where are you going to get the troops in Nigeria? Each of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria is on fire. You cannot pull troops out of the northwest. Neither can you pull troops out of the northeast, or the north central, or the southeast, or the south-south. Where are you going to pull the troops from? Southwest? The number will be minuscule. Where is the troops? And Nigeria is essentially broke. Nigeria is borrowing money to pay salaries. How are you going to fund this? My worry is the United States or NATO will come and say, oh, we'll give you logistics, we will give you air cover, we'll give you drone cover, we'll give you funding to go and do their bidding. That's why we're raising our voices. We are not going to allow that. I've said it again and again. Any war against Niger is essentially waging war against northern Nigeria, because we will bear the brunt of this.
Okay, now, should ECOWAS come in directly, or should they encourage the Islamic clerics, use them as go-between to further strengthen and deepen these opportunities?
Right. It's not even ECOWAS. It's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his advisors. He's been poorly advised.
So you should discard the use of
ECOWAS. ECOWAS, oh yeah, we do this. Oh, thank you very much. Drink tea, go home. Let's handle this. We are taking care of this.
What should be our minimum demand from the coupists? Is it to restore Bazoum?
Let me tell you, and you cannot enforce that. You see, when you better be able to make good on any threat you make. If you make a threat and you can't make good of that, you look weak. The Americans say, we'll do this, yeah. They have the capacity to do that. Let's not be edged into doing America's bidding, right? There are ways, a lot of ways to be able to do that, just like we did. What we expect them to do, number one, take that threat of violence off the table. Ease the sanctions. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you turned off that light, the switch, on a treaty that has been there for unilaterally, put it back on. What this is showing is goodwill. And we'll continue talking. The best we can get, the best the world can get is to pressure the junta to come up with a transitional timetable as soon as possible to ease out and allow democratic process
That's
to
business as usual.
No,
A
that's the
transition
only way.
timetable, even previous military governments in Nigeria kept shifting till they perpetrated themselves in office.
with the pressure of everybody else. It's been done before. President Obasanjo did it. With 1K when a head of state was shot at the airport. And he was eased out. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team were humble enough to have reached out to Obasanjo's team, they would have known and they would have learned. Leadership requires humility, leadership requires wisdom. I do not see that in this bluster we are seeing from this government.
We have to thank you so much, Professor Usman Yusuf, former Executive Secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme. You put a lot of